Hello everybody, this is Starman and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal of Krondor. Well, it's our 50th episode of this playthrough, and we are just about ready to end Chapter 3. We just passed the body of Navan de Sandu, whom I showed you both of the ways you can trick him into revealing himself as the leader of the Nighthawks. And right now, we're getting ready to fast travel our way down to Caval Run. And, yes, this ambush finally did trigger itself. Just as well, I don't want to leave any of the Nighthawks alive this time. We'll do a Black Slayer's Bane on this fellow. Now, I intentionally did that because thus far I hadn't had an opportunity, because I've been so efficient in showing off how quickly you need to kill the Nighthawks, that we have not had any come back from the dead as Black Slayers yet. So now you can say you've seen that. And yeah, you can see how if you don't have the right spells, this can become very bad for you very quickly. I do find it ironic, though, that the Black Slayers in this game, despite the name, are they have more colorful bodies than the Nighthawks, who are, you know, pure black ninjas. And I wonder if we can run into Egwene and tell her that yeah, we can't say anything to her about, yeah, we just killed off your fiancé. Sorry. No, what did I leave outside of the... Oh, yeah, that's right, the note. Well, hardly need that anymore. So we'll go ahead and swing back down the direction of Caval Run, which... It's very odd that it seems that Count Corvallis commands a far greater scope of land than any other noble we've encountered in this game. Alright, and I got rid of all my rings, so we'll have to use the actual candle glow spell. This U-turn hallway eventually leads us back to that private room, and I believe there's a pit right around the corner. Yeah. this was the room. And there's a chest right in the middle, and just double check my inventory to make sure I've got everything everybody needs for this. I think we'll go ahead and let James keep the spider because he's going to need that a bit more where he's going. And let's see, restoratives, armor. We'll give him Night Peak because James might have need of a whetstone starting out. But yeah, think we are good to go. Owen has that, that has that. Okay, let us end Chapter 3, and to a lesser degree, start Chapter 4. We do have to answer the word lock first. This engulfing thing is strange indeed. The greater it grows, the less you see. Well, that could be ignorance, but I think they mean much more literal darkness. Here comes the ending Chapter 3 dialogue. Spider scurried out of the open chest. Careful to avoid the miniature albino menaces, James carefully snatched a fresh-looking scroll from out of the box and rolled it on the floor. As his dark eyes darted across the page, his lips moved in an incantation of places, names, figures, and dates. Northwarden, James whispered. The attack will come at Northwarden very soon, but this is all wrong. What is it? Gorath asked, also bending to see the page. These figures. If Delekhan takes a force this small to Northward, he has no hope of taking the castle. Far too few soldiers. Baron Gabbett will maul unless Delekhan can bring something serious to bear. What could the Moredhel have? Maybe the Nighthawks have already infiltrated the castle, Owen said. Why else would they be so helpful to the Moredhel unless their own necks were on the line too? Paling, James suddenly snatched an inkhorn from his pack and began to scribble an amendium to the Nighthawk note. It is very important that this note reach Arufa. Although you were not told of this, he has stationed an army outside the Dimwood to await my word about the attack, James said, finishing his note. Fixing his gaze on Gorath, he handed it firmly over. I want you to make sure it gets there. I'm going to have to trust you. Owen gaped. But what about... I've got to get to Northwarden. If there are Nighthawks in Baron Gabbett's castle, we stand a good chance of losing it in an attack. I have to ensure that doesn't happen. Remember, Arufa is outside the Dimwood Forest near Sephanen. When you give him the note, tell him there's a party at Mother's. What? Owen sputtered. Just do it. I haven't time to explain. Good luck to both of you. In a moment, the singer was gone, his shadows chasing after him down the long, dark tunnel. An hour later, Owen yawned expansively, his vision growing dim with each step taken further down the road. Next to him, Gorath trudged without complaint, his eyes fixed on the dusty cow track. Enough, enough, Owen murmured. I think my legs are going to crumble. We can't reach Arufa tonight. Let's stop for a while. Quiet, Gorath snapped, seizing Owen by the arm. Beneath his hood, his feral eyes glowed like blood-tinged emerald. Someone's near. Abruptly, patches of darkness detached themselves from the woods and ambled into the pale moonlight, huddled onto the roadbed. In the shadows, arrow points gleamed, aligned in deadly sights quivered. As much as I would enjoy delivering your carcass to Delekhan, I will reserve the pleasure of your execution for him. Do not move, Gorath. You are completely surrounded. And the elves are wearing horny helmets. Yep, Nareb, that would be Nareb, brother of Nago, the Moredhel wizard that we killed in Chapter 1. And that brings us to Chapter 4, Marked for Death. The war drums had begun at dawn. Stalking quietly down the corridors of the ancient fortress, Nareb carried a witchlight to illuminate his way. As he approached the doors to the great hall, 2 Moredhel guards dressed in full battle regalia stood away. They made no sound as he whisked past, nor blinked at the sight of him. Greetings, Nareb, a cold voice called from the throne. It has been long since I have seen your face in Sarsarkoth. Have you grown bolder or more the fool? Nareb knelt at the base of the throne and kissed Delekhan's foot. That is for you to decide. If my words are not to your liking, then my life is yours. It is already mine. Delekhan's wolfish eyes blazed in the darkness. Speak, he commanded. I have just returned from a journey to the kingdom. I bring a prize. I have no interest in valueless baubles. This is no bauble, Nareb said, cutting off Delekhan, and I think you will find it has great value. And would it have name, this thing? Yes, my lord. Its name is Gorath. Nerab sneered pridefully as he awaited his leader's praise, awaited the words that would restore his place in Moredhel favor, and rescind the order of death on his forehead. Perhaps he would even have a new place among the new lords. Delekhan lunged from his throne, his razor-edged gauntlet tilting a bloody seam across Nerab's face as he lashed him backwards. "You've wrecked everything, you dog!" Delekhan bellowed. "But I've brought back the enemy of the Northlands!" Nerab's blood dripping from his torn lips. "With Goraf captive, we can proceed with our—" "You know nothing, Jon Snow." Nerab retreated, suddenly aware that his efforts were wasted, that his oath of loyalty meant nothing to his hateful lord. Resoundingly, he stifled a flash of pain as the Moredhel leader thundered forward across the door toward the doors. "And what of my life?" Nerab whispered. Halting, Delekhan turned and hissed, "It is forfeit." Owen didn't want to be awake. Perhaps it was the drugs they'd given him or the endless walking they'd done the past month and a half. All he could think about was sleeping now and the restful non-existence that interrupted the beatings and the hauling and the exhaustion. He just wanted to sleep, but that irritating jangle wouldn't let him. Where was it coming from? "Goraf?" Owen asked. "Are you there?" Suddenly the jangle rattled louder, this time accompanied by a loud creak and a flood of torchlight, as bright as the sun. Out of that glowing corona lumbled the largest Moredhel he had ever seen. "I see my assistants have been overzealous in their efforts to sedate you. It is proper to tremble when you are addressed by Delekhan, leader of the unified tribes of the Northlands. We found this among your things, Kingdom Dog. Tell me where you were going with it." "We weren't taking it anywhere. We just picked up everything we could carry and ran. We needed gold." "A lie. That seal that the Nighthawks used for our messages was broken. The new writing at the bottom of the page confirms your guilt. What does Gabbett's folly mean? Who are Arthur and Jimmy the Hand?" Those would be the aliases that Arufa and James have used. "I really have no idea. Someone else must have beaten us to it and opened the scroll before we got there. We took what we found and left before we got nabbed. Do you want us to cut you in on the booty?" "What I want is information. Your companion Goraf damaged you as certainly as your lie does. Until he betrayed his own, he was second in power only to me. He shall die for his disloyalty. Since you choose to remain silent, I shall have your tongue and feed it to the rats. Have your message, spy. It will do you little good in the grave." Delekhan stalked away. Still riled by his interrogation, Owen tried to collect his fuzz-coated thoughts into a coherent whole. Thankfully, his wits had provided the lies needed, but he had only narrowly had avoided the impulse. Only narrowly had he avoided the impulse to tell everything he knew. It was almost as if he was being prodded, coerced, bewitched. Magic? Astonished he'd been unaware of it at the time, the boy looked again at the bulky warrior who now stood whispering across Goraf's slim form. At first he believed Delekhan was incanting a spell, one perhaps to coerce the truth from its victim, but after a few moments it became clear the Warlord was conversing with his barely conscious friend. "No," Goraf croaked, shaking his head. "Plans unfulfilled," Delekhan whispered finally. Abruptly he struck. It was too much to absorb. Even if the events unfurling before him weren't openly damning, Owen had seen enough to keep him swimming in a sea of doubts, all of them centering on the loyalty of his friend and traveling companion. Worse still, he still had to deliver the message to Prince Arufa outside the Dimwood, and he would need Goraf's help to do it. Desperately, he wished he had time to sort things out, but time was the one commodity he didn't have. "Enjoy your deaths. I know I shall." Delekhan's scratchy voice snatched Owen out of his thoughts, directing his attention to where the Moredhel stood in the doorway, gesturing to someone in the dungeon corridor. From nowhere, a monolithic door swung into place, and once again the room was a land of shadows. Experimentally, Owen struck the bars of his cage, knowing fully well the corroded structure was too solid to yield. But even as his fingertips came away from the metal, the bars began a keening vibration, the iron harmonies evocative of distant temple bells. Someone was working magic, and it wasn't him. Owen wasted no time. Later he could debate to his heart's content about who it was that had set them free, and what their reasons for doing so might be. But at the moment he had no thought in him but finding a means to get them free of the darkened cell alive. Hurrying to Goraf, he freed him of his iron manacles, and allowed the Moredhel to lean against his shoulder as he limped along toward the heavy dungeon door. After tugging at the handle, they found the lock was undone, another gift from their unknown benefactor. "What about the guard?" Owen whispered, allowing Goraf to stand once more on his own. Goraf lifted his head and spoke, his speech still slurred by the drugs that had been administered to them. Keep moving, he said, waving at the door. No one is there. Pushing open the door, they found themselves confronted with a wide hallway with passages leading in 3 other directions. And that leads us to the action again. Chapter 4, Escape from the Northlands. So we have Goraf taking the lead now, since this is his homeland. And a quick check of our stats. Hardly wounded at all. And no inventory beyond the torch that Goraf is holding. Luckily, it seems all of Goraf's gear is here. Unfortunately, there is no quick way to drag all this back. And now you see why I gave Goraf lockpicks. And all of our money has been taken. And yeah, the spyglass even works underground, so we can see what places have loot close by. Or at least stuff we can interact with. But we have food aplenty, and it's a good thing, because if we don't have, plenty of food, it makes getting through this little dungeon a bit of a trick. But we should have more than enough. Really should have given James some of the should have given James some of the antidote to take with him, but alright, so we have our gear back, and it looks like whoever is helping us has also killed the guards and given us lockpicks and rope should we need them, which we don't. So, 3 doors and another dead guard. Well, west seems as good a direction as any to start. Actually, this was the way we came from originally. Owen shivered. Uncertain how long he and Garth had spent in the darkness of the room beyond, each rendered helpless by the mind-numbing drums administered by Delekhan's assistance, he was in no hurry to return to the cages. I think we already know it lies that way, he said to Garth. Let's try another way. And okay, nothing there, so swing back across. Okay, so nothing in the west. So let's try east. Okay, that key, we now know what type of key works with that lock. Okay, we managed to surprise the Moredhel guards here. Oh, this guy has flaming bolts. Good thing I put that protective spell on Goraf first. And yeah, this is the point where the enemy's weapons are going to get thanks to my efforts, I'm more than enough to meet the task right now. Accuracy melee has gone up. Nifty as fire arrows are, I don't feel like rearranging inventory to pick some up. I can, however, take some poison arrows. Delekhan united the clans of the north at this spot. All who visit here should kneel and praise the gods for his grand power and wisdom. I think not. Okay, we managed to ambush. Well, I'm not sure exactly what those things are. Sentinel Ogre. Owen studied his opponent. Well, it's possible he could be grossly misjudging some of the Sentinel Ogre's abilities. He's absolutely sure. Health 45, Stamina 46, Speed of 4, Melee Defense. Alright, well. I can't recall if ogres are immune to magic or take extra damage from magic. I'm sure it's one or the other, but this is another one of the enemies that, well, the ease with which we just kick their ass aside, one of the enemies that can be a wee bit tougher than standard. And almost walked over that one. Okay, pick the lock. And it looks like more Moredhel, but there is a chest as well. And a witch hag. Well, best disable her first. Alright, well, we downed quite a few of them there. And no room for restoratives. Very nice set of plate mail there. Yeah, we're not going to try forcing the lock on that one, or that other one for that matter. And, ooh, an icer. Well. Oh, for the love of... Okay. Something does have to give, I suppose. Okay, Gilda's foreign key unlocks this one, which has another key, and poison elven quarrels. Nice, but not essential. Okay, that chest is trapped. We'll want to save first. Well, we did manage to survive it. And there's a spell in here called Evil Seek. And that spell we do not have yet. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why on earth would the Moredhel have a spell called Evil Seek in their base. Well, you wouldn't want to leave that out where a good person can get a hold of it, now would you? So, I think we have emptied out this avenue of the maze. So we'll have to go ahead and backtrack a bit. Yeah, that dead ended, but we haven't explored any of the tunnels here. And dead end. Which apparently this is just here to make us waste our precious rope. But we've got plenty extra elsewhere in the complex, and looks like a group of goblins. And now let's go ahead and give our new Evil Seek spell a test, because Evil Seek, I'll give you this one for free. It's the best offensive spell in the game. This is why. It goes through all your enemies, and it hits them for a greatly reducing amount of damage. Now, the thing is, it does drain Owen's health like crazy, but 2 waves of it is usually all you need to take out your enemies. Though this does mean you have to rest early and rest often the more that you use it, but good thing we did that, because those guys had majorly poisoned weapons. And poison gear in far better shape than you'd expect from a bunch of goblins. And I got a Moredhel lock chest here. Though blind as well can lead the blind as well. Well, that would be a cane. Easy, I didn't have to change half the letters. So yeah, nothing in there but archery stuff. I think that's another dead end. Oh yeah, we came this way before. So we're back into the main chamber from where we started. But we have a powerful spell that will help us get out of here. And we've got 2 of the doors out explored. And this is where we shall continue from next time. We'll see you then.